Okay.
Let's call this meeting order, and if you will, please stand. Just like to welcome each and every one of you for being here tonight. We always love to see our citizens, and at least you can participate in your town government by being here. So we appreciate you being here. And at this time, I'll turn it over to our Mayor Pro-Tem, Buddy Fowler.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's bow our heads. Our Father, we're thankful for our citizens that are attending the meeting tonight. We come to you with a humble heart. We also ask you to bless each and every one of us that here and be with those that need help, Lord. We know that only you things can be made possible. Father, we also ask you to be with our troops that are overseas, bring them home safely, and tend to their families. Father, tend to all of our needs that we have had in this terrible storm aftermath. Father, we continue to ask you to guide, lead, and bless the leaders in their decisions tonight. We ask all these things in your most precious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I'll ask Councilman Don Helms if he'll lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated.
Good? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we had a sign-up sheet in the back. I think it's been announced 2 or 3 times, so should be signed up if you want to speak tonight. We ask that all in attendance please set your cell phones to silent or vibrate mode. The council offers a public opportunity to speak during the meeting. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes each and must be directly issue-oriented with agenda items for this meeting or an issue upon which the council has control. Citizen speakers will be acknowledged in the order in which they signed up to speak. We'll address all comments to the board as a whole, not one individual council member. Speakers will address the council from the speaker's podium at the front of the room and will begin remarks by stating their name and address. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Public comment is not intended to... Oh, sorry about that. What happened to the other microphone?
Just move it closer. You don't have to hold it. Just move it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I guess I got to get on top of it. But anyway, to continue, discussion between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Public comment is not intended to require council to answer an impromptu questions. Speakers are expected to be civil in their language and presentation. All comment where the primary purpose is to promote business or candidacy shall not be allowed. In accordance to the council's adopted rules of procedures, council members shall reserve response, if any, for the council forum on the agenda. So, goes through the homework there. Adoption of agenda with no other items being considered separately. A motion to adopt the meeting agenda is in order. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we accept it.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, number 7 is where we are. No, we didn't approve the consent agenda, did we?
No.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion, we approve that also.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, resolution directing the clerk to investigate a petition for continuous voluntary annexation and set a public hearing. It is requested that the Town Council adopt the resolution directing the clerk to investigate the petition for continuous annexation, adopt resolution setting the public hearing for March the 5th at 6:30, and send the property to the Planning Board for zoning recommendations. Do I have a...
I make a motion that we do that very thing.
Okay.
Make it, suggest to the clerk to investigate it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. All right. Municipal solid waste and household recycling contract. I'll call on Ashley at this time to present the contract.
Okay. What you have in front of you are the town put out for bids on the town's current solid waste contract, which is coming up for renewal. So we accepted sealed bids for that contract, and as you can see, we received 2 bids, one from Waste Industries and one from Pink Trash. And it explains in detail what was included in both of those bids. Both of the contracts came in under budget in comparison to what we are currently paying, so that is good. And based on the information that was received in these bids and based on references that we have received from other local municipalities about both of these companies, I'm recommending to you all that we accept the Pink Trash contract as it was presented.
Do I have a motion from anyone or any other discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
For sure. Ashley, a couple things real quick. I want to make sure the rollback services are voluntary, correct?
Correct.
Okay, second thing is rentals that are not rolling back their carts, the issue we went through, I know we have code enforcement, are we able to forcibly bill them for that, or what is the process you see that we need to do with that process?
So we will have to go through and amend our ordinance, which needs some work anyways.
Okay.
That stipulates what happens when trash cans are not pulled back.
Okay.
So if you all choose to add anything to that, at that time you can.
Okay, great.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Wait a minute, I got a question.
Okay,
Go ahead.
When does this take effect?
The new contract will begin April 1st.
I think probably to make sure that everybody understands it after we pass the new rules on it,
Right.
probably, give them a warning
Oh, yeah.
prior, and that way, when you give them the warning, you can inform them of the pullback, because they may not read it. I know it'll be on their water bill, but they may not read it.
Got it.
So at least that way it would get their attention, and they could then they could apply for the rollback,
Excellent.
which will make it a lot nicer now.
So they can't come to Ashley and want to sign up for them to roll their cans back?
They can, yes. It's optional, but I think what Councilman Shugarts is asking is if we can require them to have that service if they're not pulling their carts back.
Well, do these people understand how much it's going to cost a month?
We haven't gotten to that yet. We
I
will
know
send
it was
out.
in here.
It's $4 a month, in case anybody wants to know. Yeah, so we'll get all of that information will go out to everyone so that they understand. Services will not change in any negative way. They will actually improve. So there will be more options.
I think a lot of people living out of town will be wanting this worse than any of us that live here.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mayor, if I may, folks, just so you know what's going on, we let our contract is up with Waste Industries, and we were concerned about the service we were getting and being able to maintain the same type of service we were getting, and seeing what the bids were and coming up with a cheaper price. That's what the town manager has done, and the assistant town manager went out and got 2 bids, and we listened to what you all had to say about pulling the carts in or having to move back, and that was one of the things that the town manager worked into the contract with the pink lady, with the pink contractors, and there is a fee for that. They put it in for elderly citizens and those that are desiring it. It's $4 a trash can for them to move it back to your house. Not just a right of way, but I think the contract reads back to the edge of the house.
Correct.
That's what the audience had said they wanted before. And I think that'll take care of our people that come down on the weekend and leave on Sunday night and put the trash cans out and they stay there, and either they come back or the neighbor takes them back in. But looking at the bids that came in, the pink trash were able to save the town money and provide the same type of service that we were getting, plus add to our services that we were getting. And this is why we chose to go with the pink contract, according to our recommendation from our town manager And I think, Mr. Helms, you made the motion.
Also, you might want to mention to them, there's going to be a pickup for the island on Friday. The problem we were experiencing before, the people that come in on Saturday had nowhere to put their trash until Monday when it was picked up. Well, now they're picking up on Friday, and they will have empty garbage cans when they come in, and that way you won't have as much baggage out of the garbage cans now. That's one of the services that we required on our new contract.
Right, so that'll be island residents, and that seasonal pickup will be May through September. And I also failed to include in that we will now have 4 quarterly bulk item pickups.
Right. I still stand on my motion to approve.
I second that motion.
And I have one more, I'm sorry.
Yes,
This
go right
is-
ahead.
I'm for this, but I want to make,
first and
I'm
second,
for
so
this, but
we're discussion now.
Okay, so I'm done with my discussion?
No.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure. We had a flexibility problem with the prior also. I mean, they weren't flexible with you on dates, on new pickup times or any of that. I mean, that was another reason you guys went searching for this also.
Yes.
So
Right.
I'm just answering questions that have been emailed and asked questions to us, so this is why I'm going over this.
Yes, we had our current contract is with Waste Management, and we've had some communication issues.
Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, and the $4 rollback fee, I know North Topsail required people to couldn't leave their cans out. They had to bring them in, so they had to hire somebody to roll them back. And I know those individual people that they were paying was a lot more than $4 a week. So $4 a week is a good price for that.
$4 each can.
I mean a month, yeah. Excuse me, $4 a month.
can.
They were about they got like $5 or $6 a week at North Top. Some of them at North Topsail that was doing it.
Right.
So this is a lot cheaper, and it makes it real convenient too. It's especially for people that forget, like Buddy. But anyway, we do. So we have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Zoning text amendment, section 5.18, unbuildable lots. We do have a open public forum, open public hearing. So we will, my clock's gone.
6:44.
What time is it?
6:44.
6:44. We'll go into closed session this time. So anybody wanting to speak, raise their hand. Now this is only pertaining to the unbuildable lots. So it's not,
Okay.
this is not the open forum. Okay?
Okay.
Not what you signed up for. This is only pertaining to unbuildable lots.
Well, that would be the ones up there on Oceanfront, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like where they're building the deck,
Yeah.
is this doing anything to stop them from building their mega deck? I want to talk to you more about them mega decks.
Well, all right, what we have is a zoning text amendment at this time that is on the docket. And so if we have any public comment at this time, if not, all right, one more time. Yes, sir. Okay, right, okay, once again, it is a zoning text amendment, and it's a clarification amendment. Ashley, you want to explain the text amendment?
Yes. So it's a text change amendment within our ordinance that gives more specifics on what can be placed, how large of a structure can be placed on an unbuildable oceanfront lot. And within this ordinance, I'll just read it out loud. It just states, decks and crossovers shall be permitted, provided that they meet all state, federal, and the following local requirements. A deck or crossover shall not be permitted until a zoning permit and building permit have been approved. All decks and crossovers are limited to a single level. Decks are limited to 500 square feet with a maximum of 200 square feet being covered. A 24-foot wide access driveway may be constructed for the owner's access to the deck or crosswalk. Property may not be used for construction of pools, overnight stays, RV hookups, or any commercial uses. Addresses shall be posted on the street side and the ocean side of any deck structure. All lighting shall be located on the interior rails of the decking or under a roof structure. No lighting shall shine directly onto the beachfront.
That's all right.
Okay. Do what?
That's okay.
That's okay. All right. So that's what she just read, Ordinance 2019-01. And it's basically the same thing it's been. In fact, I think the deck size has been the same size for the last 25 years. And of course, the deck size is determined by CAMA. We really don't have any say-so over the deck, the size of the deck.
Right.
That is controlled by CAMA, and actually where you can put it and all that. Everything as far as that is controlled by CAMA. So you have to get a CAMA permit to do this.
Public comment.
Yes, sir.
Say that again.
Say that again.
That's a
I'm sorry. Come
loaded
up to
question.
the front and speak.
I'm gonna let Mike talk.
You just read all the stipulations that are going to be required for the mega deck.
Right.
Who is going to be the compliance officer?
Our code enforcement officer,
Okay. Who is that?
David Pendleton, is that his name?
Daniel Boom Bung Rung.
Daniel Boon Bung Rung.
Right.
Awesome.
He's got
With
a
a name
worse
like
than
that,
mine.
he's got to be good.
Well, you said it. You said the name right. You did a good job.
Well, thank you. I went to college in the Northeast. The deal is, I just sort of worry. My wife and I took a stroll down by the mega deck down there, and it didn't seem to be any problem with the parking like they said there would be. It seemed like it'd be okay. The thing that I noticed was people were taking electric cords and bringing them over to the mega deck, and they were running their hoses off the mega decks to the different parts on row 2. Now, if they're willing to pay that price for them doing the water and doing the electricity, God bless them. But I find that we have a lot of building and construction and various things around here that there is no Daniel Boone. And we need some Daniel Boones. We need some compliance officers. We got people throwing things up here and there, and they're calling them, I don't know, mega decks. Next we'll have a mini deck. I don't know. But the deal is, we really need to get this under control because, quite frankly, some of the places around here look like Yucca Flats where nuclear testing has gone on. And that's not your fault. That's a guy named Matthew's fault. But we need to get it together if we intend to have our people come back here and enjoy their summer. We really, truly do need to make this nice if they want to keep coming back and back and back and back, which is what we all wish for, I hope. So I'm just saying, if we really think about it, we really need to start to put someone that's going to hold these people responsible, hold their feet to the fire, hold some of these contracts that are taking shortcuts and leaving porta potties on the spot for everybody in the world until some knucklehead comes around and knocks it down on the corner. We need to start taking care of that stuff.
Right.
I love this place. I'm from the Northeast, but I love it down here. And I just think that you got a wonderful diamond in the rough here. Let's start polishing it. Yes?
Yes. Very good. And you're right, but one thing that I like about people coming here and all right, the town has only a certain number of eyes. But if we put all these eyes on it, then, and you call in and let somebody know that the porta potty has been left there, they're not no longer using it, then it would be, it would be something that maybe has not been caught but we could correct it.
Well, it's something I know many people feel kind of funny about calling in on a neighbor or something.
Well, that's true.
And I mean, you know, that goes back to 4th grade when you didn't want to tell them.
Well, you don't have to tell them who you are.
That's what they call anonymous.
But,
Yeah,
when,
anonymous.
but when the rats start running through the streets, that's a problem.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Come right up front there.
Is this on the same thing?
This is public comment regarding the ordinance only. We've got another period.
Yes. Good evening. I'm Marcus Norton, 1909 North Shore. And regarding the mega decks, I think there's a better way. I think it's ironic that the town is talking about beach renourishment and looking at incredible amounts of data that describe the first line of defense against storms as being the dunes. Talks about how eroded the beach has gotten just from one hurricane, Category 1, Florence. And yet, with all that data and all the effort to try to get money for beach renourishment, at the same time, you're talking about allowing the mega decks on the most fragile part of the beach system there, right on the dunes. In one of your reports, there's a statement that says as much as 50% of the beach is eroding at a rate of almost 9 feet per year. The vegetated line is migrating landward 9 feet per year. That's in one of the documents on your website. I read it today. So I think there's a better way. I think just a simple crossover, which has been allowed by the town previously, would be much better. Just a crossover. These have historically been allowed. They're quaint. They look nice. They provide good access. Nobody has any problems with them. Everybody seems to support crossovers. However, the mega decks, that's a different story. These lots are unbuildable lots. They're designated as unbuildable lots, and not so much by past hurricanes. If you look at Google Earth and go back to 1991, these lots are still, nothing was built on them, you know, as far back as 1991. So you're not accommodating somebody that's had a structure wash away. It's not that at all. But when you try to build a mega deck on these unbuildable dune lots, you're essentially putting a structure that's the size of a small house on these things. It's not a good idea, especially when you're trying to be a steward of that public resource, the beach and the dunes, and provide that protection from the storms that come through. That's just the nature of being at the beach. There are 145 unbuildable dune lots in Surf City. I counted them. Actually, there's a few more, but the database I looked at was a couple of months old, so I took a few off just to make sure that 145. So if you allow these mega decks, you're opening up 145 dune lots to mega decks. Now imagine Florence was Category 1. Imagine a Category 3 or 4 or even a massive hurricane that comes through. It's going to slam 145 of these mega decks into the homes. Without the mega decks, there's no risk of these things causing a loss of life. But if you allow this type of the size of a small house construction, you're jeopardizing the safety if these things are washed. And you know, just from Florence, there were pictures of 3 minutes. Okay. I appreciate you allowing me to speak, and I would encourage you just to pass an ordinance that would allow crossovers and eliminate the deck part. You can always go there later if you want to, but tonight you have an opportunity to do the right thing, and I'm encouraging everybody to do the right thing. It's the town of Surf City that regulates land use, not county. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And it is 3 minutes on this, just like it is on the open.
I wanted to make a comment about how these mega decks are being.
Pull your mic down to you, and you won't have to stand on your tiptoes.
I want to make a comment about how these mega decks are being watched over. In this notebook, I've got a permit that has no signatures on it. And the deck was built anyway. CAMA put a stop on the building of these mega decks after Florence. And I have documentation from CAMA that they did that. I have photographs of the lot after Florence. I have photographs in October. I have photographs in November. And this deck was continued to be built. And I have the CAMA permit after the vegetation line was redone, and it was on November the 14th. And I have photographs of this deck all the way up to that point. Now, somebody was supposed to be inspecting this deck. Water, I assume, was, put on this deck. But this deck got built, and it shouldn't have been built. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sandy Monroe, 316 North Shore, and these folks had a lot of really great information that I did not even know about. So thank you for sharing all of that data. A couple questions I had were, are there maximum allowances in height for these mega decks as far as allowing dune grass to grow underneath? We all know that nothing grows under shade, so if we're trying to build up our dunes with grasses and things. And are these maximum allowances? So CAMA could come in on a case-by-case basis and say to these property owners, your lot will not allow a 500 square foot mega deck. I mean, that's as big as our house. Our whole house barely takes up 500 square feet. And the last part is this really a big tax base for us or city? Are we getting a lot of money from these mega decks? Is this why we're so anxious to have them come in? Is it bringing in some money? And we're getting ready to spend all this money on dune pushes, or not pushes, but refurbishment. And there are folks that, we don't have 20 feet of dunes in front of our house, and we're not on that emergency list that just came out today. These mega decks are going to be right there with no dunes in front of them, and they're getting those new dune refurbishments. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Joel Griffiths. We're at 1901 North Shore Drive, and I work for a mid-sized construction company, and I realize that you can't stop progress. And the mega decks, I do have a great concern for. We're out on the beach today, and there's a lot of erosion out there. And I do feel like by building these decks and constructing these structures, that we're going to have a great problem in years to come, or maybe next year if we have another storm like we had this year, in the erosion of these decks, from these decks. I mean, when you build these over the sand, build them over the vegetation, I feel like it destroys the vegetation. And in the process of building these decks, it's going to cause foot traffic all over them. They're flattening them down. And this stuff, I don't know, I mean, how the town would make them go back and get the sand back where it belongs. But I feel like by building these decks, that we might be doing ourselves injustice. And I know there's a lot of people in here probably looking at me that have money put in these decks. They want to see them go through. And I just hope that we're making the right decisions when we do this and don't shoot ourselves in the foot in a year to come. And like I said, I don't have a problem with progress, but let's all stand together and make sure that we're making the right decision. And it's an effort that everybody needs to take hold of, because if we were to have another storm next year like we had this year, we wouldn't have no dunes out there, I'm afraid. And I think we need to, like I said, take hold, each and every one of us, and make sure that we don't destroy ourselves in the midst of this. And the other thing is I wanted to ask about is where do we really stand with the public access is going back to the beach? I know summer's coming, and I know y'all are probably working very diligently on trying to get people to put these public walks back and get them back in use for summer traffic. Do we have a schedule or anything that we're working on for this? And if so,
I'm not supposed to make a comment, but I'll tell you they are being rebuilt, and there is a schedule on our website of those and which ones.
Ashley can update us on that.
Yeah, Ashley can do that, but she has to manage the report.
And the other thing is I wanted to ask, I mean, how does the town feel about the individuals, property owners, going and using maybe stuff like sand fence and stuff of that nature? Because I know that sand fences do collect a lot of sand. It wouldn't like a piece of grading equipment out there, but let's start making some provisions, I mean, as individuals for some of this stuff right here. So if next year we get hit like we were this year, that, you know, it's just not a plateau out there. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm, you know, trying to cause strife, but I really am not for the decks in the sense of I feel like it doesn't help the vegetation and stuff on the beach. But there again, I mean, you know, it's going to be what it is. And please, everybody, just sort of keep hold on it, and let's make sure that we do make the right decisions. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anybody else that wants to speak on? Yes, he does.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm back up here once again. I've been trying to do this since August. My name is Jimmy Schoaf. I own one of these unbuildable, actually I own two of these unbuildable lots. I own a house on 6th Street. I've went through all the CAMA permits, got all my permits, done everything that was asked of me, and I'm still on. I've had my permit twice and had it revoked twice. I've done everything by the book, and I think, you know, CAMA has been put in place to govern the beach. Am I right? They govern the North Carolina beaches, and if they don't know what's good for the beach, good for the dunes, then who does? Who are we to say what's good for the beach? And I think I own lot 4 in front of the Nortons, and this last letter that I got from their lawyer, which I think y'all received the same letter, I feel like that I have been called out, and it's getting personal now. Before we were all worried about all the beach, and that's fine and good, and that's the way we should be, to preserve the beach. But I feel like, because it actually called me out in this last piece of information from their lawyers that I received on Saturday of last week. Then I get a call from Steve Padgett on Monday that I have a stop work order on my lot and on my deck. I've had $5,000 worth of lumber delivered to the lot to begin construction, and it's just sitting there now. I don't know who's going to pay for it when some rogue comes by there and backs their pickup truck to it and takes it. I mean, I can't watch it. I don't live down here all the time, and I'm just really frustrated with what I've had to go through when I've went through the chain of command and did everything that I was asked to do. Storm came, had the reline of vegetation marked again by CAMA, by Jason Dale, which is super to work with. We had to get back down to the size that we were asked to do, and I'm still having to deal with this. I'm not asking to do anything that's breaking the law. I just think that we should be able to do everything within the law and the rules, and it should be allowed. So I hope that we can all work this out, because we all, in the end, it's a small island and everybody's neighbors. So I think we all should get along. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anybody else want to speak? We are in open forum. Does anybody else want to speak? I mean, closed forum. Anyone else want to speak on the oceanfront decks, unbuildable lots? Anybody else have anything to say about it? Yes, sir.
Just a short question, and I'm probably addressing all but one of you, be the wrong person. I noticed, and I made it my nosy business to go to the north and see one of these decks, and the thing that got my attention is for sale. So I guess it's a real estate development opportunity to build one, then sell it and make a profit. Whose responsibility is it to tell the buyer what they're getting into?
The real estate agent.
Good answer. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Yes, sir.
I just have a question. What's the definition of an unbuildable lot? It means unbuildable. When you build on it, you're breaking what you're saying that you can't do. Unbuildable means not suitable for building. And you build a deck, that's a building. Thank you.
Okay, to answer your question on the unbuildable lot, CAMA is the one that decides whether it's an unbuildable lot or not.
It means uninhabitable.
Yeah, it is unbuildable. That does not conform to construction of a single, where you can't build a single family home. The term is an unbuildable lot. Well, it had to be a small lot. I mean, like I say, some of these rules we do not have control over. CAMA is the one. And talking about, honestly, we used to allow, just walkovers, and that's what most people build. I agree with you on that. Most people used to just build a walkover. But they have, but forever some of them have built, the decks and the gazebos and stuff like that, just not as many of them. But, I mean, the 500-foot and the 200-foot covered, like I say, that regulation has always been there, just not many people ever used it. Most people just built a straight crossover instead of building a deck there. Step up, yes.
I just wanted to come back and ask one more time. I know by building these decks, and I mean, like I told you, I know that I'm not trying to discourage it. I know progress comes, but do you not think that there's going to be other problems that come from this as well as the deck itself? I mean, do you feel like there's going to be partying, traffic speeding up and down the streets? I mean, I know of a summer when we're here that the cars fly up and down there anyhow, and the police is through there pretty regular. But do we not feel like this is going to bring additional problems as well as the deck on the dunes by doing this? And I know people behind me that's got interest in these decks, and I'm not trying to cause strife with them, but I feel like as well as building the deck on the beach, it's probably going to create other problems too. It's going to create lots more traffic, and I come from a small area at home.
Right.
And I just hate to see it just become a raceway in there and people hollering and screaming and cussing and raising Cain and the police is back and forth every 5 minutes. I just don't want to see that come.
Okay.
And
thank you, sir.
Right, thank you.
Okay, if we have do we have anybody else want to speak? Okay, if not, we'll go back into regular session, and the time is
7:11.
7:11. Well, that's come out pretty good, didn't it? Okay, do we have any discussion among the board? Do we have a motion from the board?
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2019-01.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. All right, now we go into public comment period, so I'll turn it over to Stephanie.
I'm going to apologize, but I can't read the handwriting. We've got an individual homeowner at 1901 North Shore Drive. Do you have anything else? Or you go? Okay. I have a Miss Norma Yanez with Waste Industries.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everyone.
Good
I know
evening.
it's after the fact, but I'm a firm believer it's never too late to change something. So I'm here just to speak a little bit about the proposal that we submitted. I had emailed each one of you last week and kind of give a little synopsis, and I did realize I had made a mistake in one of my formulas. And then after seeing the copy of the contract that was included in the agenda, would like to correct that. There's still, if you had awarded the work to us with the summer service like it is, there still would have been a savings of about $45,000 a year, which I think is quite a bit. And it's my job to make sure that you know that. And as far as the other services, we did offer to do the pushback for the elderly and the handicap at no charge. We offered to go up to their house to get it and then put it back at no charge, which is in my proposal. We offered to provide all new trucks. We offered to provide all new carts. We offered to provide software where the town could track what kind of service we did and whether or not we did the job that we said we were going to do. And also included in that is us delivering and making the exchanges and picking up the non-payments or whatever the town wanted us to do. The request for pushback price and bulk pickup price was not in the request for proposal. In the state of North Carolina, just to make it clear, and I've been doing this for 28 years, and a request for proposal for services is not really a formal bid. They're negotiated. Normally we're asked to do presentations, we're asked to speak to a committee, we're asked to clarify what we said. In this case, nothing happened, and I really don't fault anyone for that. Shame on me for not realizing nobody realized I was low bid. But like I said, $40-some thousand a year is quite a bit, especially when we're willing to do all these other items as well. I did, once I found out that the pushback price was offered, of course we offered to do it as well. We offered to do the bulk pickup as well. What I would like for you to do is to rescind your award. I would like for you to discuss it at your workshop that you're going to have later in the month. I'd like to be able to explain how I came up with all these numbers. I did my homework. I pulled the state reports. I got reports from Pender County, Onslow County to see the actual tons of what you did so it can be compared apples to apples. Like I said, I'm really clear on what my numbers are with the savings that we could have offered. Also, if you do pull it back and discuss it at your workshop, there's a couple of other things you might want to do as far as the contract was concerned. Someone had asked earlier in the meeting about how much it costs for pushback service, and Stephanie said $4. Actually, it's $4 per cart. Some of the things in the contract, because that's what I do all the time, aren't very clear. It says a monthly rate of $4 per roll-out cart per month. Now, is that $4 for every time if you roll it back once a week or twice a week? Or if that's not stated clearly, there's several things inside of this agreement that really needs to be more clarified in case someone at a later date came back and challenged any of it. But those are some kind of things that you could do if you rescinded your award and decide to discuss it at your workshop. There's no rush that I can see. Discuss it at your workshop. Let me provide these numbers, let you ask questions about what we do, and then move onward from there. But like I said, it's a lot of money. That could be another employee for the town. We've been in business here in North Carolina since 1971. I've worked in this region for 28 years. I used to call on Xander Guy, Larry Bergman, all of your previous town administrators, mayors, and I'm very familiar with the area, very familiar with Pender County. I'm the contract manager for the county contract. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I have a Mr. A.B. Swindell.
Mayor and board, let me say hello to you and thank you for allowing me to speak. I do work with Waste Industries. My past life, about 1978, my mother and I bought a cottage here at Topsail Beach, at Surf City rather, on Topsail Island. We also had a house on 6th Street, which in Fram we lost that. I worked with Waste Industries with contracts. I have served as an administrative assistant to a member of Congress for 12 years from North Carolina, as well as in the State Senate for 10 years, where I was chair of the Appropriations Committee of the Senate. And I want you to know that Norma Yanez, who would never tell you this herself, but her background and what she's asking you to do is to consider rescinding something so you can look closer at it. It's either a savings of $70,000 a year or $45,000 a year. So the fact that it was not the low bidder is just not the way it is on the paper. My friend Norma I work with is very capable, and I always tell people too, and she's a 3-letterman at NC State. And in fact, the basketball team could use it the other night. But anyway, I do appreciate you allowing me to speak. And I love this place, I love this island, I love the new bridge, and I've been coming here for over 40 years and still own property here with my sisters. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to have you down.
Next, we have a Mr. Jimmy Schoaf of 1910 North Shore Drive. Good. Miss Patty Gilbride of 8013 8th Street.
Hi there. Although I don't know the two speakers before me, they actually provide me with a perfect segue. Remember a couple years ago when I had asked if we used to do the public comment in the beginning of the meeting, and I said, you know, could we really do it at the end of the meeting, because that way we could talk about all the things that were brought up during the meeting. And I was shocked when I came in to the next meeting and it was changed. It was like, oh my God, they actually listened. They thought it was a good idea and they did it. So here's another shot at it, okay? I have another suggestion. This morning, I went to the town website, I opened up the agenda, as I do on every meeting day, to see what we're all gonna talk about. And I saw the waste management contract, which, you know, garbage has been like, it is my passion, garbage and recycling. I care so much about the garbage on this island, you know, so I don't have to waste time with that. Okay, so you know. So I also saw, and I don't know if this was a slip up or not, but Ms. Hobbs put not just the agenda, but the entire 47-page council packet. Was that intentional? Awesome. So I wasn't planning on sitting down and reading 47 pages over my morning coffee. So I went to the part with the garbage and skimmed it. And I didn't read it in detail. It looks good. But I don't have enough, you know, I didn't have enough time to look at it. What I'm asking though is this. So you presented the garbage contract tonight and you voted on it tonight. And this is one of those hot button topics. It's not just like routine business, you know, I don't know, all the other stuff that you guys do that most of us really don't care to talk about, but you do it. We do care about the garbage. So what I would have asked in my perfect world is that you introduced the contract tonight, or at least you introduced the topic tonight. And it would be on there, as you put it on there, so that everybody can read it. Now, most of the people don't have time to read it. They don't want to read it. They don't care about it. Just give them the end result. I do care about it. And that you took public comment tonight, factored in all these great ideas that these people out here have, At your next workshop, which will be in 2 weeks, the third Friday of the month, you then discussed all those wonderful ideas that all these great people have. And maybe you changed your mind, maybe you didn't change your mind, and then at the following meeting, you put it to a vote. And quick question, Ashley, was that that $4 a can, whether it's per can or is that for every resident, or is that if you opt for the rollback service?
If you opt for the rollback service.
That's what I thought. Okay. And that's it. Thank you.
What y'all want to do?
Okay, who's next?
Mr. Marcus Norton of 1909 North Shore Drive.
Thank you. Well, I am disappointed, but since not everybody, but a couple have come up and asked you to rescind what you've done tonight, I thought I might do the same. If you could reconsider that adoption of that ordinance, I think it would be a good thing. I think most of the people that spoke tonight were not in favor of megadecks. I don't think you responded very well to the public, and I think that the public overwhelmingly did not show support for megadecks. So I would ask you to rescind that the same way everybody else is asking for that tonight. The other thing, I have two more things to say. One is your legacy. Several people have served the city for a long, long, long time. And law enforcement and donating land for parks, and that's all a great legacy. But it would be disappointing to have a contentious issue like megadecks overshadow that. And so that would be not our wishes by any means. We don't believe that it's the CAMA rules that take precedent at all. It's the Town of Surf City rules that take precedent. It's the zoning ordinance that allows or does not allow megadecks, not CAMA. We know that. That's pretty, there's not a question about that. And the last thing, I would encourage everyone that's here tonight, if you ever have thoughts of one day retiring to Surf City like we do, go ahead and move your voter registration down here. Go ahead and register to vote here. That's the process. If you're not in agreement with what's taking place, then make sure that you're registered to vote so that you can have a say and make a change, and so that we can have the beach remain a quaint, nice, attractive place that provides ample protection and with the dune system and the other things that we like about it. So I'm encouraging everybody to, if you haven't moved your registration, please do that. Go ahead and register to vote here. It would be a wise thing and good for our future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Tom Laughlin of 2416 South Shore Drive.
Mayor Doug, good evening.
Good evening.
Just as an admin note, I'd like to thank two of the gentleladies that take part in this council for seeing me today. It was a pleasure meeting you and both of you, and thank you for your hospitality and your willingness to listen and your sincerity. Thank you. And also to Jeremy, thank you for meeting with us the day before yesterday. So with that, I've got a very quick note. I've already started, as one could expect, to receive calls from individuals that are concerned that their homes are not on the list. I think one or two of the council members may have also received information on that. And the only thing I need to know, and I tried to dissuade them from getting too excited, because I said, you're a 50-foot lot, we're talking about 6 miles of beach. There may be some oversights. I said, Surf City is going to do what is right. They set what the parameters were. If an engineer missed something, it'll be rectified. So if I could just know who to direct these individuals to so they could have their case listened to, would it be?
Any of us at Town Hall will be more than happy to help you.
Okay, I will pass it on. Thank you. The other is probably more of a suggestion. The cost of the beach push-up, not the push-up, but the dumping of sand is very high. And the most important thing, from, I think, my opinion, and the opinion of others, especially those that are on the ocean front, is the renourishment program. That is going to bring, I think, the littoral of Surf City into the next century. To put anything of that significance, I believe, and I speak for many people, I think, at risk is something that we really have to cogitate on and analyze. And the reason I say that, I've spent 44 years, 28 as an active Marine officer with a lot of responsibility, and 16 years as director of several federal agencies. And I know that FEMA or CAMA, they promise you everything, and in their heart of hearts, they mean what they say, and they want to do it. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, they don't control where the dollars come from. In the geopolitical situation that we have today, where we have a very truculent split houses of representatives in Washington, and the president is trying to do certain things to protect the borders, and if he should go forward and say, hey, you can't get your act together, I'm going to make an executive decision because we're facing a national emergency, and Congress won't give him the money. I think we all know that. So he'll go to his agencies that take care of national disaster, which is a deep pocket. He won't take it from defense, and they'll say, I need $5 billion, $8 billion to build this wall. And the way that works, all the good people that promised you money, their bosses are going to turn because they're going to get a direction from their secretary level and say, we need X number of billions of dollars. And it's going to be up to the agencies to determine where they take their money. And I didn't think it takes a Rhodes Scholar to understand where that might come from. So the only thing I would ask and suggest, this renourishment progress has a lot of moving parts that have to be synchronized. We have a handoff when South Topsail finishes with their dredge, else it exacerbates the problem with additional cost. We have hurricane seasons we face, and the more hurricane seasons we face without this renourishment, the greater risk to the littoral of the beaches, okay? And the second thing is, if we don't get the money, not out of malice, but out of unavailability for 2 or 3 or 4 years, it increases the risk. So what I would just ask is that you look at, is the juice worth the squeeze? Have we looked at, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to dump sand. If you can say 80, 90%, hey, we're going to get the money. Do we have the ability to stay on track, stay on target, finish the project of the renourishment without going into debt where it puts the city, Surf City, in extremis where they can't maintain their current support and infrastructure services if they have to go to the bank and borrow $5 million. And you have to pay that off in a very short period of time, I think, 5 or 6 years. That's about $1 million a year. Anyway, thank you. Just food for thought, and it's an important issue. Thank you all very much for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Mr. Fielder of 1714 North New River.
I feel like I know y'all. Jeez. A problem. 42 years I was a teacher. That in and of itself is required to take a lot of medicine. But here's my problem. I have not seen anyone move forward after we had a horrendous hurricane. Let me explain what I mean, okay? We made some mistakes, and everybody can Monday morning quarterback. I got you. Nobody's calling any fault on you guys. But here's the question that I have for you. Have you done anything to rectify it for this November? Have you done anything to move forward? There were places where you guys dropped the ball, and you know it better than I do. And I'm not angry. I mean, we're all human beings, and that's the way it's going to be. But the sin isn't in dropping the ball. The sin is in repeating it. Now, Ashley, I don't know you. You seem like a nice person, but now as our town manager, are you starting to do a punch list for all these things? Because when I left town, my garbage was all over the street because you told me to put it out. Now that's okay. Everybody's garbage was all over the street. So it wasn't your fault, wasn't Bergman's fault, wasn't anybody's fault. It's just we need to get our ducks in a row. Huh? And just remember, it's the lead dog in the dog sled that gets the view. The rest just look at the butt of the dog. So let's lead. You know what I mean? Let's get up there. Are we going to have public service people like for the fire EMS, fire? We got 2 major bridges now. Both require no traffic after a certain wind. Well, I don't parasail. Okay? And I'm getting off somehow. Understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be curt. I'm not trying to be turt. I'm not trying to be short. I'm just thinking, let's go ahead. November's not that far off. We got people still trying to put clapboard up. I understand that. But we are only putting a Band-Aid on something that needs a tourniquet right now. Because if it hits us again, and no one here can bet me that it won't, right? And if it does, I just want to be prepared. I want our people to be prepared. Huh? And that's all. I'm not finding fault. We all went through it. We all Monday morning quarterback. Let's get together, get a committee together, and get yourself a template maybe from someplace up at Ocean Isle or do some research and get this thing rolling so that we at least know what we're doing. Are we tapped into the state? Okay? Our phone lines go down. Do we have an automatic link to the state to get people here and do things for us? Okay? These are things that we got to, and we're depending on you guys. We voted for you. So we're depending on you. You are our agents right now until November. And then we'll make that reevaluation again on your decision-making process. That's all. And we're trusting you right now. Number 2, I do have one, I got 1 minute? Thank you. Oh, thank you, 1 minute. The deal was, I'm just asking if you, huh? Okay. Then I won't ask them whether they had waste management and pink trash. Give them
Next, we have Mr. Jack Solak of 2408 South Shore Drive.
I said I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but I'm sorry. I'm going to say something. I realize that there's a lot of important items going on, like trash cans and mega decks and food trucks. But as far as I'm concerned, Miss Patty, and I love you, Patty, the most important thing is the health and safety and welfare of our dunes at our beach. And we got to do something about that. If we don't have a good beach, if we don't have good dunes, we don't need mega decks. We don't need trash cans. We don't need food trucks. Let's rebuild that beach. Last month I asked to get a cost on having sand hauled into my property because I'm not eligible for the imminent danger because I got 24 feet instead of 20 feet. But anyway, I almost had a heart attack today when I heard it was $28,000 to get sand hauled to my house. It's like unbelievable. I rent my house out in the summertime. I collect a lot of money from the occupation tax. That goes into a beach fund. And I pay taxes, a special tax that goes into the beach fund. I thought all of that was going into a trust fund for beach nourishment. And I would be very disappointed if we decided to take this $5 million out to do the beach hauling out of that beach nourishment fund. We should got to open up the doors a little bit, look at other things. One possible thing to do, I'm just suggesting this, trying to help everybody out, is that we get a loan to pay that $5 million from some bank and pay it off when we get the money from FEMA. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, excuse me, we have Miss Sandy Fixon of 66 East Ridge.
Hi, I'm talking about something you've already passed, and that's the trash.
And I have a couple questions. One is, it looks like you're going to charge extra money through May through September to have the second pickup. Is that true?
Yes.
What if we don't need the second pickup? Why do we have to pay for that? And then you say that it's only for the people on the island. Well, we have Surf City off the island also, so why don't they have to pay the extra if we have to pay? And are we going to have pink garbage cans? That's my question. I don't think I should have to pay for a second pickup. I don't need a second pickup. So why, then, if I, as a resident of the isle of Surf City, why don't the people off who are residents of Surf City have to pay the same thing? That's all I have to say.
Next, I have a Mr. Derek Cohen of 121 Fairy Tale.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to make a comment or some related to the beach building and I guess the meeting that happened last month. I wasn't able to attend. It was nice to be able to see it online. I think that was a great way to, for not only people like me who couldn't be here during the day, but for many of the people that have money at stake who aren't here during the week because they live somewhere else, to be able to see what's being said on during these meetings. So I'm curious. I think I had heard it was brought up in the past, but is there any interest of the council to try and have all of these town meetings available via YouTube, so that the majority of people that have money at stake in this town aren't here for these meetings. So I think it makes sense for that to be considered. The other thing, in watching that, and it seemed like a nice plan from the engineering firm, it's still a ton of money that we're about to spend. So I'm curious, was there, second opinions that we looked at? I mean, with the largest project that we've had, and at least in the 15 years that I've been around this area, were there second opinions? Is there supporting documentation that we can look at to understand why that plan made the most sense? A lot of people are concerned that this $5 million may not really make it, get us to a point of, the larger project that's coming. And like the last gentleman said, I mean, it's there's things that may not happen with the other project. We've been surprised at many steps, through the storm of Florence. So it wouldn't be unheard of to think that what we're planning for 2020 might not happen. So again, any second opinions? And then with what came out today, I didn't have enough time to really look at it, but it sounds like there may be some a process to look at that a little bit closer. But I know from what I saw in the color coding of the map, and again, I don't live oceanfront, but there's a stretch of town in that or a stretch of area in I think it's a 1350 section of South Shore that the ocean washed right through, over the road, and that whole area doesn't have any sand coming. So I mean, the main road is at stake. It seems like we're protecting some structures that probably we shouldn't protect, and it seems logical that we would protect areas of the road where the ocean completely washed through. And from what I could tell, that's not that doesn't look like it's being protected with what came out today. So I think I heard there is a process to ask questions about that, but that was a concern from what I saw. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have a Mr. Daniel Blevins of 621 North New River.
First, I want to say hi. It's kind of nice to come in here and go from debris pickup conversations we've had over the last few months to trash pickup. So we've come a long way. For those of you guys who are tirelessly working, I want to say thank you. I know, Mayor, your place isn't even up and running yet, but the town is. So thank you. I know we got a long way to go, but we've come a long way. I originally came here to talk about 514 North Shore Drive. It wasn't on the map. Their dune can be measured in inches from the house, and it wasn't green coated But you said talk to the town hall and have somebody go out there and reevaluate that. So you answered my question on that already. I want to piggyback on some of what the comments were prior. The beach nourishment. I think we're at a point where we really need to consider opening the credit card and figuring out a way to make the big project, the one that they recommended if we had the money that they would do. And the reason I say that is the beach is kind of like a car. And the more you put off the maintenance and the more you Band-Aid the maintenance and kind of drag it on, the more expensive it's going to be to fix in the long run. And yeah, we might be paying more interest now on a loan and such, but if we get another bad storm, in 2 years, that interest is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to the cost it could be as far as storms go. So I really think as a community, we need to look at the total cost of it, not just the oceanfront houses and having them ship in, because we all benefit from the dune. You know, I live on the island. We all benefit from the dune, whether it's oceanfront or not. And if we continue to put it off and we continue to patchwork things, it's going to catch up to us. So I really, really think we need to look at, further along than that. So for all you guys who have been here a long time, I really appreciate the community you guys have built for us. My family and I moved here about 5 years ago, and we love it. We fell in love with this place, and it's because of those who created the fabric of this community, those who grew up here and really did that. So thank you all. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
We're done.
That's it.
Is that it? That's everybody, huh? Okay. Next, we will go to council forum, and I will start this time with Councilwoman Ms. Batts.
Okay. So they say that great communities just don't happen, that they become wonderful because of the concerned residents and leadership and vision. And I am thankful that y'all came out tonight. I'm thankful for those that participate in the services that the town requests volunteers to do. We had a great turnout for the beach sweep last month. I want to encourage you to contact your insurance commissioner to help fight the increase that they are proposing. It's a 17.5 minimum up to a 30% increase that is being proposed for your homeowner's insurance. So I encourage you to contact your insurance commissioner.
Mentioned that that was in the...
Yes, and that was in the resolution that we passed on the consent agenda. Getting back to being prepared for June 1st, we are working diligently on reviewing and adding to our emergency destructive plan. Hopefully, at the March workshop, we will be presented, council will be presented with a plan to review. So that is probably number one. One of the number one things, other than the beach nourishment, that are on the top of my list is making sure that our plan is updated. And then wanted to let you know tomorrow we're going to have a webinar. The Surf City is going to start participating in a Watch for Me program, and it's basically a national recognized program that is focused on pedestrian bicycling safety. There's a goal to reduce severe crashes, offering hands-on training to law enforcement and education to the community. And then also looking at the shoreline protection. Next month we go to Washington. The Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Committee goes to Washington on March 12th and 13th to
plead our case again with our representatives. I plan on taking pictures to show the mass destruction that we have seen over the past 4 months, 5 months. And then also, I just wanted to say there's a few other things that are happening in the next couple weeks. The expo. There is a Dune workshop that is scheduled on March 9th to address how to plant grass, what grass to plant, how to put up your sand fencing. CAMA will be at this event, which is going to be held at the Welcome Center, and all 3 towns will be participating, Surf City, North Topsail Beach, and Topsail Beach, in that workshop. And then also there are a couple nonprofit organizations that have a great turnout for events in the spring. On March 24th is the Out of Darkness Walk to Fight for Suicide. On April 6th is the Real Housewives of Topsail Island bike ride. And on May 18th is going to be our first annual Bridge Day in Surf City, and the motto is Bridging the Gap for Mental Health. So I hope that you all will stay, look online and see that we are going to need a lot of volunteers for all these events in Surf City. And again, I thank you for coming.
Okay. Councilman Pro-Tem Buddy Fowler.
Thank you, Mayor. It's glad to see all of you tonight. I was enjoying your comments. And as far as going and trying to borrow the money, our local government commission kind of controls what we can and can't do as far as borrowing money. They will not let a town get insolvent. They have to look at that, look at what our assets are, look at what your debt ratio is. A lot of things goes into it. Believe me, we're pushing the plug just as far as we can push it. And we want to try to do as much as we possibly can for our beach renourishment and mining the funds that we already have in it. And Jack, those funds you were talking about are in the beach renourishment funds. So that's where we will take that money out of to come from that for the beach renourishment. Unfortunately, there's nothing about renourishing the beach that is cheap. I mean, the day of the cheap stuff is gone. So we do look at the engineer who we have, Mr. Gibson, who has looked at our shoreline and figured out where we need to right now, which is the immediate area, danger, imminent danger is what I think they classified it. That's where we need to start with that berm and put it in. I know I'm speaking for myself, but probably the whole council feels the same way. We would like to do it total town-wide. We don't have the funds to do that initially town-wide, but we can start and work with the beach renourishment and try to get there. Unfortunately, FEMA, as the gentleman made reference to, the federal government moves at its own speed. The good way of saying that is the federal government giveth and the federal government taketh. And if they change things, we may not get some of the money, but I think the money probably will be there. That's certainly what we're banking on and counting on. But if it's not, we will still be in decent shape. And in doing all this and all the things we're trying to do move forward, we're trying to look at maintaining what we have without having a large tax increase. Now that's important to us. We don't want that. There may be a tax increase, but if it is, it'll be because there's a dire need for it and it can be spent wisely. But we do not want to raise taxes. That's the last thing we want to do, but we want to make sure that we service our community, and our community is in the rebuilding process and can get back to the best possible norm, which will probably be a new norm that we can probably get. And this has been devastating. You go back and you look at Hazel. Hazel came through and was gone. Boom, like that. Fran came through. Fran was pretty bad, but it was gone. This storm here came in, supposedly been in a category 3 or 4. Thank the good Lord it did not. It came in as a 1 because it was moving 2 miles an hour. And your baby can crawl faster than that. And it sit here on us for 5 tide changes. 5. And it devastated our dunes. It devastated this beach, and we all are still in the process of rebuilding. We have a strong, resilient, and most generous community that I am proud to be part of. And we will continue to build, and we will continue to strive, and we will be strong again, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time. I told you before, we're in a marathon. We're not in a sprint race. And we want to get things done. We want to do them right, and we want to be able to build on what we have done so that it's not money wasted. And there's a lot of questions that come up. Some of the questions I'm sure you can get answered if you would call the town hall and ask those questions. And if you don't and can't get your answer, then you call one of these council members or the mayor or myself, and we will try to answer the questions. And if we can't answer them, the same for the town hall, we'll find the answer and get back to you. It may not be the answer you want to hear, but it'll be the truth. It'll be what we can and can't do. We're always open to suggestions. And Patty, yes, you know, we do listen and we do move where we can and try to find the best possible solution to where it is may not be necessarily a win-win, but it is the best solution under the circumstances with all things considered. It is great to hear all the comments. It's great to see the interest we have from our citizens. And I encourage you to continue to express those, but don't sit back and think you have to wait for a council meeting to ask a question. If you have a question and you need my phone number and you don't have my phone number, you see me and I'll give it to you. And I'll be glad to talk to you. But we are doing as good as we can do with what we're fighting. And I've said this before. You think you're frustrated? Come and sit in our seats. We're frustrated, we're aggravated, but we still are trying to put the business of the town forward and move in the direction it needs to go in. And again, I thank you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. All right, Miss Nelva R. Albury, Councilwoman.
Hear me without it.
We're going to put her right on the mic.
I want to tell y'all I appreciate every one of you.
Get it down there close now.
Oh, boo. I want to thank all of you for coming. I've enjoyed all of your remarks. And I want to thank Waste Management for doing our waste for so many years. Y'all have really treated the town good, I thought. And we appreciate it. And I appreciate all the rest of his remarks. And if you can't get something done, come back and holler at us. Thank you so much.
All right. Now, I know that you were waiting, aren't you, Jeremy?
No, I actually was enjoying this tonight,
Jeremy.
actually. I was enjoying this tonight. You know, it's really great because, you know, typically everybody says thank you for coming and everything, but Teresa had a lot of great information tonight.
Yeah.
She gave us a lot of great dates. I was writing down. And Buddy, super passionate. It was awesome to hear what you had to say. And I think he really puts out what this council feels, that we are working hard towards gaining ground for sure. Mr. Norton, I know you're passionate about that. Your comments, believe, don't go unnoticed, okay? And Mr. Durr, thank you for being nice to the mayor tonight and everybody when you were talking. Sometimes you get up there a little mean. That's okay. I love you anyway. I'm just joking, okay?
What are you talking about? We best buddies.
I know that for sure. But right. A couple things, Ashley. I know you're going to talk. I think this is super important. I had a great meeting with Ashley yesterday. Maybe you could address, because, you know, when people hear, like, for example, that, by the way, that's Waste Industries, not Waste Management, just to let you know, so they're a different group there.
They knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Like when they talk about $74,000 to $47,000 savings. So here, the crowd sits here, and they think automatically. There's confusion in their minds. So maybe the town manager may address that comment. That will be helpful. And I know she's also going to address code enforcement real quick. We talked about that because there's some confusion with that. And then we talked yesterday, Teresa already covered it, about hurricane assessment. That is heavy on our minds. Some people have, a lot of people have emailed us and called us about that, and I talked with Ashley about that, and they've been working on a plan, and she's going to cover that in her report. So I just want to say that. Last thing I want to say is I'm a big believer that government must be accessible and responsive to its citizens and its business owners. That's how we believe. I believe that government must exercise wide stewardship of community resources, and government must seek intentional growth and development that enhances the community. That's what we represent, and that's what I represent. So thank you for letting me serve you, and I think it's going to be a great year this year. So thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now we finally come to our gray fox.
Yeah. I thank all of you for coming. I appreciate your comments. I want to bring up something just very little because it's been a slow month as far as the fire department and the EMS is concerned, but this month has been not that slow. We've had 35 calls, total calls, and that's the biggest call month that we've ever had for January in the past, just January. But I want to bring to your attention again, please contact your insurance commissioner or your representative in reference to that insurance. Whether you folks some of you folks have not lived here long enough and don't realize it, yes, we had a lot of damage during Fran. Folks, from Raleigh west, they've had more damage than we had, but they still keep going up on our insurance. And they do it every time we have a hurricane or a suspected hurricane. So please contact your insurance commissioner, your representatives in Raleigh to stop this. I mean, enough is enough. The beach or the eastern part of North Carolina is not a cash cow. And the people in Raleigh, the people in Charlotte, they've had more damage than we have. And you can go look it up and you'll see what I'm talking about. Next thing is beach nourishment. Folks, we're going just as fast as we can that we're allowed to go to get this beach back in the shape it's in. We can't afford, without the time for Topsail Beach to start doing their dredging and then us tack on to it. It's like Mr. Fowler said, you don't want a tax increase. I don't want a tax increase. So just bear with us. This ain't stopping and it's not going away because we're not depending on, basically we're not depending on the federal government to support this. We're doing it ourselves this time. So appreciate every one of you coming. I appreciate your comments. Look after your wife. It's Valentine's Day. Come, what is it, the 14th? Yeah. So have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'm going to do something I thought you would have done.
What's that?
I want your firemen to stand up. Stand up, gentlemen. I want you to see what a professional fire department looks like.
Contribute that to that stand-up chief.
Right, the chief. Now,
Chief, stand up. That's the fire chief, Alan Wilson.
We appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. A lot of you spoke tonight, and a lot of you spoke very truthfully. Yes, we don't know where the money's coming from. We don't know when we're going to get the money. We live on faith, but that's what we have to do quite often. So we are depending on our government to look after us. Sometimes they are slow to operate, but usually they end up cooperating. Sometimes it just takes them a long time. They are still putting money out now that was from Matthew, and so, you know, it may be, in fact, we're looking at 2020 before we get most of our money back, because we know that it'll take that long to ever get through the system, if it will. But we do, we realize what you all are talking about, and we appreciate it. And it's what we, you know, the way I look at it, what we're doing is the sand haul is just a bridge to our beach nourishment. It'll give us a little protection in our worst areas for this coming up season. course, like I say, now we're not going to have a hurricane this year. We already told them just to put it off. We're not going to put up with one coming in, so we won't worry about that. But anyway, but just in case, I know most you all talked about the being prepared, and we did learn a lot in this last storm. We'll probably learn a lot in the next one, but our staff and I told Teresa to take it. She's like a little bulldog when she gets hold of something. And so she is working with our staff and with all of our departments, the fire department, the police department, the maintenance department, and you drew, she came in with a stack of books like that from different communities up and down the coast. So we're looking at all that they are doing. They have been down and visited other places that had EOC centers. They've looked at that. The chief is involved in that. The fire chief is involved in it. Everybody and all of our, we're looking at getting better communications during the hurricane too. That's one thing that they're really concentrating on. And so our IT guys are working with that. So, like I say, Teresa has done a fantastic job of working with them as far as a council relationship there. And we appreciate that. Trash, yes, we've got another bid, but the way government usually works is we put out bids and you have sealed bids. You know, if you put out a bid and everybody bids on it, and then they come back and they can say, oh, well, if they bidded that, then, you know, I can bid a little less. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I'm saying that that's, you know, what you're running a chance of. You know, and so we just had to do the best we could with the bids that were presented to us. But I know our trash service will be a lot better now than it has been in the past. If not, I know who I can call and get something done. And that was the thing about our trash service that we have now. We used to have a local person that we had a working relationship with. And as long as you had that, then everything went a lot better. I mean, if they called him in the morning, Jerry would go out and jump on the truck and he would make sure that they went back and picked that trash up at that place. And that's what makes good trash service. And I think we've got that now. Oh, and the sand is definitely a FEMA designation. If you feel like they didn't designate your lot correctly, then contact the town and they could have the FEMA people to go back, or Chris or somebody to go back and look at it again and check. Maybe, I mean, they can miss stuff. Starting the 15th, we are going back on a schedule like we used to. For years, well, we all didn't always have 2 meetings every month. It was sort of a as-need thing. We had a regular town meeting the first Tuesday of every month. And then we would have workshops. I think y'all remember that. And the workshop was a workshop. And what this enabled us to do was the council just sat around and, you know, each one would present what they felt like needed to be done for a certain project. And to some of the projects that we're not getting done because we're not able to just sit down and fully discuss them. We can't get together any time except when we have a meeting. And I think that you need all the heads in together when we're trying, don't you? And just let us discuss something. And workshops, we really don't vote. We don't vote on anything in the workshops. We don't make the decisions. We may come to, an agreement on stuff, but we don't decide and we don't vote on it there. Now, the difference between a workshop and a town meeting, we do not have an open forum. So, in other words, there is not a time for the public to speak, and the public is welcome to come, but the public is not involved at that time in the workshop. Now, if you want to come to the workshop, that's fine, and afterwards, you can send a text and just text everybody on the board. Say, well, I know you were discussing it, and I heard all y'all's different opinions. This is how I feel. And that's welcome. I'd love to have that. Or pick up the phone. I've give you all of you my phone number. So call me and just say, you were talking about this on at the workshop. I don't agree with your idea. I agree with Don's idea. I think that's the way you need to go. Just let us know. So you are welcome to come to the workshop, but it lets you know that the type of meeting is going to be changed. We're going back to the old form, and we just feel like that old form worked a little better. We could get more done at that time. Because anytime we get together, any more than 2 councilmen, then it has to be an open meeting. So that's what this is. And I think, do all of you agree on that?
Absolutely, yeah.
That form? So that's what we're going to do there. And, okay, I think everybody else covered everything else pretty well. And as Jeremy said, we all did talk a lot tonight, so I'm sorry about that. But anyway, I hope we got a lot of explanations out and got a lot covered. So at this time, I will turn it over to our illustrious manager and for her report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but y'all were filling up my notepad as you spoke. So just to give a quick update on the beach accesses, I think some folks were asking about that. Parks and Rec has been working diligently on getting those fixed and opened back up. Currently, they have 10 that are completely open and readily accessible. I'll go through the list of what their repair order is, just so you know what they're working or going to be working on. Dolphin Street, which is 700 North Shore Drive. They will be working on 5th Street, 1902 North Shore Drive. Craven Avenue, 1200 North Shore Drive. Stevens Street, 520 North Shore Drive. Wilmington Avenue, 500 North Shore Drive. Newbern Avenue. Quarter Horse Avenue at 1100 South Shore, 1800 South Shore Drive, 2318 South Shore Drive, and 2808 South Shore Drive. There's several others on this list that our Parks and Rec director is actually going to possibly put out for a contract for a bid. So that we can possibly get these accesses opened even faster and ready for the tourists before the summer season gets here. So this information is also available online, and Chad is very good about updating us on this, so we will keep it moving so that you all know what's open and what's not. Just a few things. I've had a meeting yesterday. We met with some staff to discuss the town's water and sewer capacity. What our needs are and how we're going to move forward with addressing these needs, and what projects we need to prioritize to get these needs taken care of. As Councilman Woman Batts mentioned about our emergency planning. We're readily working on that, Mr. Durr, I promise. James Horn is actually the one that has been working very diligently before the storm and after the storm to get us in line with what we need as far as the plan is concerned, so that everybody knows what they're doing, what their responsibilities are, etc. Hopefully at the February workshop, before the March, James will be presenting all the information that he has put together and where he's at in that planning process. So I encourage you all to attend that so you can see where we are. As far as budget goes, we're getting ready to go into a new budget. So I'll be getting budget information out and budget calendars to you all and to staff, hopefully by the end of next week. And then we will begin having budget work sessions in March, probably about the middle of March. Also, as the mayor and Councilman Shugarts has also mentioned about the roundtable discussions and changing our setup for work sessions, I think Stephanie is diligently working on that. So we'll definitely have that taken care of. Code enforcement. A lot of you, I don't know how many know, but we do have a code enforcement officer. That is Daniel Boombumrung. He is actually from the police department. Previously, he was an officer and he also handled code enforcement issues. So he's very well aware of the do's and don'ts and how to handle those types of situations. We will get a flyer together, possibly an FAQ, just so everyone knows what the process is and things that he will be focusing on, just so you all have more information about that. And these are things that he will pass out, things that we will have online. That sort of stuff. And let's see, last, to address the trash, the contract. So Norma is correct. We do not have to, as far as trash service contract goes, we do not have to put that out. It doesn't fall under the general statutes for formal bidding. However, we have the option to choose to do so or not. So therefore we put out an RFP. And we received bids, one from Waste Industries and one from Pink Trash. So we review those bids, and at that time we evaluate what the cost will be, what the level of service will be, level of transparency, things like that. We don't have to choose the lowest bidder. We take all of those things into consideration, and that's how I arrived at my recommendation. And based on calculations, there is a savings with the Waste Industries contract, and I think with the new calculation, it was $41,976.20. I'm not sure where the $70,000 is coming from, but that's what I've come up with. However, Pink Trash is also saving us money. So both contracts, no matter which one we go with, will save us money from what our current waste management contract is. So I hope that helps clear that up a little bit. I think that'll do it.
That's going to do it?
I think so.
Okay. I see he's busy right now, but our illustrious lawyer, do you have anything to present? You don't. That was quick and short. Okay. Anybody else got anything for the good of the town? No, sir. Well, do I hear any kind of motion?
So, second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? I know nobody's opposing, so motion carried.